kick it off with the quarterbacks. And I know that quarterbacks, everybody loves them. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. They have all these very special quarterbacks on this list. But number one quarterback, this is where I swear, this is no bias to where I just watched the quarterback series. Patrick Mahomes is my number one fantasy quarterback heading into the season. Now, Patrick Mahomes, I'm just done doubting him. Last year, I was so high on the Chargers. I spent the whole entire offseason talking about the Chargers winning the Super Bowl, yada, yada, yada. I am done with this. Patrick Mahomes, I'm putting him number one. He's just the best quarterback of all time. And I think, when we're looking at PPR, not only do we want passing touchdowns, but we also want rushing touchdowns. I know that Patrick Mahomes doesn't really run a lot, especially at the back half of the season whenever he was dealing with a high ankle sprain. He was pretty much inactive in the running game. But looking at the Chiefs offense, I do think that Isaiah Pacheco will be the running back one for the Chiefs. We saw Jarrett McKinnon, burst onto the scene last season in fantasy, but I do think that Isaiah Pacheco will be the running back one. And then looking at the receivers, no Juju anymore. You do have Kadarius Toney. We will see if we see, Kadarius Toney has an elite level speed. He had a really good showing in the Super Bowl. So I think that, Kadarius Toney is one of those receivers that we are just waiting in the wings to burst out. I think that this could be the season for him. And we already know what we're going to get with Travis Kelce. He's not only the one of the best tight ends in the league, but also if you're looking at, honestly, put him up against, the Jeffersons, the Chases of the world, I would put him up there. So Mahomes, with all the talent that he has around, with the talent that he is, I'm just not putting him anywhere else. Last year, I put him at number 3. That was a mistake. I know that he didn't finish as the QB1 of fantasy of Jalen Hurts, but if you look at his QBR at 77, that ranked number 1 in the league. So let's go on now to number 2. A familiar team that we saw last week. We saw Stephon Diggs make the top 5, and we're making it the quarterback 2. I feel like Josh Allen has been on my top 5 list past couple of years. He was number 1 last year on my top 5 fantasy quarterback rankings. And I think that he's still going to be up there. I know that Mahomes has a ranking by him by number 1, but honestly, my top 3 receivers feel like 1A, 1B, and 1C. They're going to be really good. They're going to give you the fantasy production you're looking for to starting quarterback. And these are the 3 elite quarterbacks. Like, Mahomes, Allen, and Hurts are about the only quarterbacks I would even touch in the top 5 rounds of the draft. And if you're looking for a quarterback early, it would be one of these 3. So I think that looking at the Bills offense right now, the running back, you're going to have James Cook. You no longer have Devin Singletary there. They added Damian Harris into the mix, so that will add another running back for Josh Allen. And then the receivers are pretty similar. Your top 2 guys are Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs. But what I really like about what the Bills did this offseason, helping out Allen, was drafting Dalton Kincaid. Dawson Knox just hasn't really been the tight end that we have been expecting, but I do think that Dalton Kincaid will definitely be a big red zone target for Josh Allen. So Josh Allen can do it all. Looking at his stature, 6'5", 6'6", he can just run you over. He's pretty much a running back at quarterback. You look at his projected passing touchdowns, 32. That is just insane. If you get 30-plus touchdowns from your quarterback, and can you also get a couple of touchdowns in the running game too, that would definitely be big. So number 3 was my, number 1, almost number 2 quarterback last year was Jalen Hurts. He was the fantasy quarterback number 1, was a huge part on the Eagles making it to the Super Bowl last year. And you're looking at all of his projected. I mean, this man is going to be popping off at every category, passing yards, passing touchdowns, and also rushing touchdowns. 11 you see right there is the most projected by any quarterback. And I know the talk of the town, the modern style of football is that fantasy managers not only want a quarterback that can, score a lot of passing touchdowns, but also give you a lot of rushing upside too. I think that Jalen Hurts is one of the best to do it. We're seeing Lamar Jackson, we're seeing Justin Fields do it too. So I just feel like looking at the Eagles offense, once again, they added a really dynamic guy in DeAndre Swift. I do think that DeAndre Swift is going to be the number 1 guy, but Kenneth Gainwell, they really like him as the pass catching back. And then the receivers, they're very elite. I do think that Dallas Goedert had some injuries last season. I expect him to be fully healthy too. So I do have Jalen Hurts in my top 3. I think that he's going to continue to be elite. Would not be shocked if he's back in the MVP race along with Allen and along with Mahomes. So I would definitely take Jalen Hurts. If Mahomes and Allen are off the board and Hurts is there, I would definitely not have any second thoughts about not taking Hurts. Going in number 4, a lot of people like this watching the shows. We have a lot of LSU faithful. Joe Burrow is once again in the top 5, coming in at number 4. Now, Burrow, like the top 3 quarterbacks, doesn't really run the football much. You only see him either quarterback sneak it, or we've seen him at times when the Bengals get inside the 10-yard line. If there's really nothing open, the pass protection gets down, then he can definitely take off and run. The Bengals offense is pretty much the same as it was the last season, outside of Peyton Hurst not being there anymore. Joe Mixon is going to be back. There's some, off the field issues, but I do think that he will be their running back 1. No Samaje Perine there. Then the wide receivers are the same. You got Boyd, Higgins, and Chase. So I think that Burrow has already, he's shown in the past couple of seasons he's been elite, and he's continued to improve. As you look at his fantasy rankings year in and year out, he was the number 4 quarterback in fantasy last year. So I think that he hasn't reached his ceiling yet. I do think that he has the opportunity to be a top 5 quarterback once again. All right, now I know those are pretty vanilla quarterback rankings so far, but I think that this is where a lot of people their eyes are going to open. Number 5 is going to be Justin Fields. If you looked at last season, the start of the season wasn't very good, especially in the passing rate. This isn't a guy that deals with accuracy issues at the start of the season, but he kind of figured out at the end of the season too. But at the end of the season, I mean, he was a league winner. If you had him starting, I saw a couple of games where he got like 40 points, 30 points. He was very consistent. I think that his rushing ability is as elite as Jalen Hurts, maybe even, remotely, above that too. And look at the offense. They did add DJ Moore. That's like his best target that he's ever had in Chicago. Darnell Mooney wasn't doing it for him. Chase Claypool wasn't doing it for him. They did get rid of David Montgomery. So that's really going to open the door for Justin Fields being their RB1 here. I just don't think that the Bears have a lot of faith in Khalil Herbert. So Justin Fields is going to pretty much be their prototypical RB1. He's not going to get, as many passing yards as the 3 guys that I mentioned above, but his elite rushing ability slides him in at number 5. So I'm going to shut up now. I'll give the floor to y'all, what y'all thought about the top 5. Did you have any disagreements? Maybe you would have put Lamar Jackson over Justin Fields. So I'll leave the floor open to y'all right now.
I do see some missing names that, to me, if I miss out on one of those top 5 guys, I'm okay with waiting and picking up another elite receiver. And I'll rock with Lamar Jackson. I'll rock with Justin Herbert. I think Herbert's situation's gotten better, and I think he played kind of iffy down the stretch last year, but I think the value could really be there at like QB8. I would rather do that than take the shot on Justin Fields, but I could be totally wrong because Justin Fields is kind of sitting where Jalen Hurts did last year.
Yeah, his ADP has skyrocketed.
And it's just both of those guys to me are just a little too high for the dependence on rushing touchdowns too. Yeah. Was it by design that Jalen Hurts got 11 rushing touchdowns last year, or is it because they didn't like Miles Sanders as a goal line back?
I think it was more Miles Sanders. They're not liking him. Watch what he's about to do in Carolina.
Yeah. So I like to see guys that give me a guaranteed floor as a passer and then bonus touches as a runner.